Officially official. Drake is going dancing. Yet again, you can make that 3 straight MVC titles for Drake, who came out on top against Bradley in the Missouri Valley Conference Championship. Arch Madness in the books. 63-48 is your final score as the Drake Bulldogs get to raise the trophy in celebration as they notch their 30th win this season, the most in school history and in Division I basketball. For more analysis and coverage, we welcome you inside our CBS Sports HQ studios. I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Mike O'Donnell. Kyle Boone joins us from afar as you take a look at this trophy presentation going on behind us. What does this moment mean for these guys as we talk about your initial takeaways from this game?
Well, first of all, love the Drake. Okay, been a big fan of the Drake Bulldogs all season. They are a team that I think if you've been following college basketball throughout the course of the season, you see them in non-conference. Like, you know, they beat Kansas State, and you're like, wow, that's a really interesting win. Drake looks really good. How are they doing this? And they just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. This is a team that I think deserved to be in the NCAA tournament, even if they didn't win Arch Madness, even if they didn't win the Missouri Valley Championship. But don't even have to think about that now. They're in. And I think, and I'd be curious to see, like, when Kyle Boone talks about like seeding implications here, like where Drake falls for that, because my goodness, that's probably the last mid-major team in college basketball that you want to see in the first round.
Yeah, that's a big question. Hopefully you have the answer, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, according to Jerry Palm, he has them as a projected 12 seed, which, you know, to Mike's point, would just be insane. I think any matchup in which Drake draws a 5 seed, they're probably going to be favored. I think they will probably be one of the most trendy picks in the NCAA tournament when Selection Sunday is released next week. But, you know, like to Mike's point, like this is a Drake team that last year won 28 games. Their head coach left for West Virginia. They lost 12 players. And earlier this season, there were some signs that, okay, this team could be good. And, you know, they were labeled D2 Drake, right? Because their coach came from Division II. Some of their best players, including 4 of their 5 starters, came from Division II. And it was almost like a troll or like, you know, some sort of like way to kind of add some schadenfreude. But this team is legit. They just won 30 games this season. They're going to the NCAA tournament for a 3rd consecutive year. And, you know, I think if you were doing a rankings of like teams you don't want to face or draw in the first round of the NCAA tournament, man, Drake has to be up near the very top of that list.
Well, they can enjoy this moment, celebrate with their friends, their family, as they now earn that automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. You know, there's always room for improvement. So with that being said, what really needs to be fine-tuned in order for this Drake team to have a deep run?
So one of the tricky things about playing Drake and preparing for the Bulldogs is their tempo. And Ken Palm is, you know, the analytical tool that so many coaches and analysts and broadcasters use to identify matchups and games and statistics. They are dead last in tempo, and if you're curious, it's like, well, what does that mean? That means they play at the slowest pace in all of college basketball. When they get ahead, if they're up 5 or 6, 7 points on you, it's a struggle, a huge struggle to come back because they are so good at controlling the tempo and pace. On top of that, they are an elite offensive rebounding team. Elite. Yes, they have Bennett Sturts, who came from Division II. He's one of the best individual players in the country. Yes, they have Ben McCollum, who, if you love the fact that Ben McCollum's coaching the NCAA tournament, if you followed his coaching progression over the last 5 years. This Drake team is tough. They're physical. Even though they're undersized, they crash the offensive boards, they get extra possessions, and they work the shot clock virtually to its entirety. And they have a borderline All-American player in Bennett Sturts. How do you control tempo? The tough thing now for Drake, though, if they get down at all, they're not used to playing fast. They're not a pressing team. They don't get out and run in fast breaks and hit quick shots. So, you know, if they can control the tempo, that's great. If they don't control the tempo, that can be an issue. Kyle, I know you've watched them a bunch too, man. I think tempo, it's one of those blessing and curses for Drake, especially on a neutral site floor. If shots aren't falling, will their defense travel?
I think that's the big question, right? This team won 30 games, but we'll see kind of how they play in the NCAA tournament, potentially when they're not a front runner, right? Because this team has consistently jumped out to big leads, put teams away early by playing slow, by grinding out the clock, as you mentioned. They consistently run the shot clock down to near zero before taking shots. I think the turnovers problems that we've seen at times for this Drake team could be an issue. The pace and the way in which they dictate the pace could be an issue, especially if they're having to play from behind. I think that could be a problem. But the way that they win this is with their defense. They allowed Bradley today to just 48 points. That's the fewest points Bradley has scored all season. They've got a number of pieces where they don't have a lot of holes on this roster. And with Bennett Sturtz firing on all cylinders, 24 points today, the offense looks good enough and the defense looks legit. And after the game, Ben McCollum kind of talked about like the pieces and how they put it together. Said, hey, look, we wanted to put together a team that is the toughest, the highest character, and the most connected. And certainly watching this team today dismantle a really good Bradley team by 15 points, punching a ticket into the NCAA tournament, this team will be a hard out in the NCAA tournament because of all those traits that this team has.
We'll see soon enough what kind of run they make as Drake headed dancing. They win their third straight MVC title game, their 30th win also as well, the most in school history and of course in college basketball. Guys, thanks so much for joining me here on our CBS Sports HQ post-game coverage. You can check out more college basketball top. Let the madness begin on the Ion College Basketball Podcast. You know the drill. Scan that QR code on your screen and watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jordan Giorgio, joined now with Dan Bonner, who is on the call for us. Dan, it's so great to see you. It's official. Drake has punched their ticket. Let's start with what impressed you most from them today.
Well, Jordan, I think the thing that impressed me most was just that they seemed to be unflappable. Bradley started the game very well. Bradley made a couple of runs at him, but they just keep playing. They grind you down, and particularly when Sturtz plays the way he did today, making 5 3-point baskets and rebounding the ball, blocking shots, his assists, they can be a very tough team, and I think nobody's going to be anxious to play them in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, let's talk about just how tough they can actually be. This is a Drake team that still could have made the tournament even with a loss today, but now that's not a question. What makes them such a dangerous team as we look to the big dance now?
Their pace is going to be a problem for everybody. They play differently than anybody else in the country does, and so you're going to have to prepare differently for them. They don't have great size. Their 2 tallest players are 6'8", and yet they rebound the ball very effectively. They really put pressure on you. They drive the ball to the basket. They move the ball. They do a lot of screening, and so I think teams are going to have a hard time preparing for them.
All right, we'll leave it there. Dan Bonner, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on our post-game coverage. CBS Sports HQ as Drake gets their third MVC title. Next up, the NCAA tournament for the Drake Bulldogs. And we are just days away, counting down the hours and minutes to Selection Sunday. Our coverage begins March 16th, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, of course, on CBS, or you can stream on Paramount+.